Salve, salve, Maestro here. And today we are continuing our Brazilian run. Now we are already going for the big boys of the small nations. We already grabbed Persia. And with no delay, let's go for Socorro. I let the time pass a little bit in order to decrease my infamy. Because if I declared war against Socorro with the infamy that I had before, I would go over 50, and there was a bigger chance of other nations coming to the war in order to stop my infamous nation. So now, if I declare on them, I'm gonna have 49.9, so no worries. Now we completed the freedom of thought journal entry, and this is one of those that I said that I needed multiculturalism or no migrations control in order to complete. And now I can have plus 10 Arts Academy building throughput, which I don't want it, or of course, plus 20% university building. And the other journal entry, I guess, is the new Colossus, which needs the no migration multiculturalism, I guess. Now, the problem is Bornu sided with Sokoto, so I can add a war goal over them to conquer state. The problem is I am at the limit of the infinite, and Egypt might step in. So I will try to take I would try to take the least infamous province. That probably the better one would be this, because this one wouldn't bother my market because would go from this side. So I needed this one in order to keep colonizing here and have access to the market. I think it's worth it, and I'll go for it. And even if Egypt come in, I don't think they can do a lot of things. They maybe will raid some of my convoys, but probably won't do anything, so I still can deal with them. Yes, now we have multiculturalism. It's not very, very important law. And as I said, the big Colossus journal entry was completed with multiculturalism. And this is the bonus I was talking about. Plus 25 migration attraction permanently. This is very, very, very good. The other one is just 100 prestige for 5 years, so it's trash. And a third big baby war is happening in North America. The Confederate States with Mexico against the United States. Let's see how this will turn out because US has more battalions, but Mexico with the Confederate State has more conscript. And we already saw that United States already lost wars against both Mexico and Confederate States separately. So now that they are together, this will be much, much harder. I think, I guess, and I hope because I want United States to keep weak as it is today. It was in Egypt. Now Spain is supporting Sokoto, but although they have a bigger navy than Egypt, they are still weaker than us. So I think we might be able to deal with Socorro first and then just wipe peace with the Spanish and still manage to win this war. The tech difference here is just much, much huge. They can't defend themselves against us. And Spanish was dealing with a revolt here on Haiti, but now they are trying to naval invade us. They probably won't be able because we have already ironclads while they are in man of wars. But still, I mobilize a army here to defend against the naval invasion. Okay, so war is won. The sad part is that Spain is not wanting to end the war, but they decreased it a lot, this acceptance here after both Sokoto and Bornu capitulated. So it's just a matter of time before we can peace deal with them. And we can do exactly what I wanted, that was colonize this place here. Also, protected speech is on. It was approved at the same time that the Sokoto capitulated. Just a little bit overpowered the new Colossus decision. I'm even considering passing this law here of rights of women because I need to pass at least one of them in order to complete this journal entry here. But I always do it late game, like when I actually need to do it. Although removing the popularity modifier would be great, I always left it for the late game because I like the birth rate that legal guardianship give. But with that ton of migration, I think that my population just don't need it anymore. Something that I need to change in the mod is remove these rubber plantations in the states like Minas Gerais, Bahia, Pernambuco, because the tree that produces the rubber simply don't grow in this state. It only grows in the Amazon rainforest. So it would be just on the states if the Amazon rainforest state modifier, Mato Grosso, Goiás, Maranhão, Amazonas, Pará, and this type of thing. Finally, Spain accept the white peace. Like, I just couldn't naval invade them. They have a big army with the same technology of me. I just invaded the Haiti. That was the only place that I actually could. So it took a long, long time. But if you think about it, it was okay because I actually need my infamy to tick down. Although I am already looking for a new place to invade, like this is only 26 infamy for Korea is huge and Great Chin has paper units, so I can just naval invade there and boom, victory secure. Something I could do here to make it easy, my dominance over this region is actually give both of these states to Sokoto. So I won't waste any bureaucracy or any type of this, and I can actually decrease the labor design by doing that. So I think that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So just point out something here, my construction sector exploded because now I've unlocked steel frame buildings. But the thing is, the British now are in war against Harar, which is okay. They're in war. But then Persia used this time span to attack Oman, which is inside the British power block. And I was very, very worried that the British sided to Oman, but luckily they didn't, and Persia will probably completely wipe out the Ottoman army. And the other thing is that I didn't remember it, but when you establish a colonial administration, you can't colonize other states. Like if you're already colonizing, like in this case here, you can continue to colonize, but if not, then you can't do it anymore. So I'm losing a little bit this colonial race because of that, but still it's fine. So now that Rio de Janeiro has more than 15 urbanization and we've unlocked the steel frame buildings, we can create the Bondinho do Pão de Açúcar, which is that cable car, kind of a mountain that there is in Rio, which translates to sugar loaf, if I'm not mistaken. I will put the image in the screen so you can see one of the most beautiful views of Rio de Janeiro. Now we can create it. And now we have graduated taxation, something that Brazil struggles to do until nowadays. We managed to do in 1879. So it seems like the revolution in Edge was actually successful, and I didn't notice that. So basically, this was the old Edge that was protected by Russia, that it's not even protected anymore. But this is the Edge that I want, that have the oil, and no one's to back down. So I will go for it. Like I wanted to go for Korea first, but this is such a low infamy that I think it's worth it. I will be creating this army here, and I'm gonna call them pracinhas. For those who don't know, pracinhas is one of the names for the expeditionary force of Brazil during the Second World War, and it's just a small army for quick and small naval invasions or dealing with rebellions. Now I will be building our first wonder. We technically already have the Ouro Preto, but it's already built since the beginning of the game. So I'm gonna create the Teatro Amazonas. The history of this building is that when the rubber economy boomed, the only place that would actually produce rubber was the Amazon rainforest. Only after some time, some seeds of the tree that produce naturally rubber would go to Africa or Indonesia. And because of that, Brazil would earn a lot of money, so much money that they even bought this state of Acre from Bolivia just to produce rubber. But the states that profited the most were both the Amazonas and the Pará, and this created a very big economic increase on their societies. And one of the effects of them is the creation of the Teatro Amazonas, which is a very, very beautiful building. And in the game, it adds prestige, arts academy throughput, and rubber plantation throughput. So finally, I think it's time to give women some rights. I won't go for women's suffrage or women in the workplace because I'm worried about this. I have a lot of peasants and it might create a lot of unemployment. So it's just not optimal. I just don't need this workforce and I can still enjoy some birth rate, at least not a debuff to birth rate. I'll go for a property woman because, as I said, I'm worried about unemployment and I still want some non debuff on birth rate. We managed to complete the populating the Americas journal entry. It's kind of sad because now we can't artificially create mass migration targets, but at least some prestige. And property woman passed. It was, I think, the fastest law that I had because each cycle they went to the next phase. And just to reinforce what I said about the workforce, I've just unlocked the electrical generation. So I'm not even using the green PMs, not a lot to save workforce, just to increase demand over some goods like tools or coal. And I still have other options like electricity and oil that will come. So that's no need for us to go for a more progressive legislation over human rights. And the Brazilian succession is completed. Now we have our heir to the empire. It's just sad for her because as soon as she take power, I will already go for Council Republic. But still, she will get her throne. We also have workers' protection now. Not only the dangerous working conditions is at minus 100%, but now we also have a minimum wage. It's not necessary, like they already have a very good standard of living, but still a minimum wage. Like the only thing separating us from being a communist utopia is literally just this journal entry. Because if we fail them, Brazil is gonna be immediately a landowner power based country. Like I'm almost a communist utopia, but just because of that journal entry, I will go back. Like just look at the election with the difference between the workers and everyone else. Long ago, I said that I wanted to invade Korea, and I am on low infamy. So why didn't I invade them already? Basically, one word, Persia. So if I invade Korea right now, my infamy will go above 25. And with that, I can decrease the liberty desire, at least not as fast as I want it. And all the times, for some reason, Persia was declaring war against Kandahar. The problem is, Kandahar is a protectorate of Great Britain. So of course, Great Britain would join Kandahar's side. And then the British would basically ask for half of Persia. So being honest, I just loaded a save, started a small war just to avoid that Persia attack the Kandahar. Because like this is absurd. This just don't make sense. They invading them. It's a war to lose. But right now, I managed to decrease their liberty desire enough so I can make them a puppet. And by being a puppet, they won't attack Kandahar anymore and continue to give me headaches. The problem with Russia siding with Qing is that even though I can handle them here and naval invade them, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to control the land because I need to control it for a little bit until the war score tick down. So my strategy is gonna be put almost my entire army here to defend against the Russian and naval invade in the Korean capital and try to defend from both sides. And now we are the number one economy of the world. I just switched the tooling workshops to mechanized steel tools, not all of them. And this probably bumped my economy up. And this is not only because our population is growing massive, but we still have top 4 GDP per capita. So our economy is also productive as hell. Now I can create Central do Brasil, which is one of the most iconic railway stations in Brazil. There is even a Brazilian film that has this name, and it was actually nominated for Oscar. The main actress, Fernanda Montenegro, was nominated. And most of people in Brazil say that this Oscar was rigged because she deserved it over the other woman that I don't remember. Just like in this year's Oscar, where there was a Brazilian actress called Fernanda Torres, which is the daughter of Fernanda Montenegro, that also lost the Oscar. And not only in Brazil, but I saw a lot of people all around the world saying it was rigged. But the importance for the game is that it unlocks this Nova Estrada Real or the new Royal Road. The old Royal Road was a route that will go all the way up to the north of Minas Gerais, would pass through important cities like, where is it, Ouro Preto, and would connect these gold producing places to the ports of Rio de Janeiro, that then would lead to the transportation of the gold all the way up to Portugal. So just a little bit of flavor, because in the past the transportation will be done by horses and now by trains. So it increased the infrastructure in both states and the gold production in Minas Gerais. And we managed to build the first skyscraper of the world. Nice. Now we've successful naval invade them, and just in time there are gonna be a lot of Chinese and Russian troops here, but I hope we can defend this. I put my best defense generals over this mission, and we just need to wait to the war support to tick down, because now we control 100% of our war goals. Something that I forgot to do that would be very, very helpful here is to put this mobilization of opium in something that I completely forgot, is to give this supplement and supplies to all of the armies. So like this is the third imperial army. They don't have the mobilization supplies. And if I give to them now, they're gonna decrease, I think, in half organization. On my next company, I'm gonna go with Banco do Brasil. This is the oldest bank in Brazil and one of the most important. Their buildings are not good, but its bonus is very, very good because of the max number of companies. So it's essentially a free company that you can grab. You just need to keep the productivity high enough. Okay, so something very, very interesting happened. And you clearly can see it. The Sichuan uprising. What is this? Like, I hope so much that the Chinese try to vanish with them, because I need here to a little bit of a recover. And Great Qing capitulated. And as I said, since I control the capital, they started to tick down and then they get out of the war. And now we just need to hold the Russians here and wait for them to want a white peace. Maybe they actually won it. Just wait for a week to pass, and that's the end of the war. And we are done. Now we took Korea. And let's hope the best for this uprising, because of course we want Qing to explode. Later in the game I will probably go to war with Qing again to liberate Manchuria, Mongolia, and all the other states. And now that Banco do Brasil has enough prosperity, we can already establish more companies. And of course, I'm gonna go for the United Construction Conglomerate. That's the special company for the tier 3 construction. And the other one, I think I'll just let it here and use it later. Something this war showed to me is that I am not prepared for the big wars against like the Europeans' power. So I'm trying to almost double my army, because I am in a very good economy situation. Like I'm almost in low taxation. So let's just expand and try to escalate here. So I built a little bit of government administration buildings to increase the tax cap, but it seemed like I built a little bit more than I needed. So in this situation, I will go for survey the Panamaísimos. Normally, I don't have a goal to do it, but since I have this much of access, there is no reason for not going for it. So just for role playing. Arquivos do Museu Nacional, or National Museum Files, was the first scientific journal created in Brazil. And the Museu Nacional was a house of Peter II that, after the monarchy fell, it was turned into a museum, and it's probably the most important museum in Brazil. It's like the Brazilian Louvre. So basically, now that we have Art Academy and philosophical pragmatism, we can create it. So let's go for it. I'm doing some quick wars here to increase my presence over Africa and speed up my colonization. But of course, always some European power will want to step it in. And this time is Spain. Now I just need to see if I can take all the army there, and I'll also naval invade them, because this is just conscript. And the end of monarchy is close. Peter II is already a little bit sick. It will decrease our magnanimous journal entry by 1, but it's okay. And probably he'll die very soon. And as soon as I started the naval invasion here, the Spanish army left Congo, so I completely wiped them out. And now it's just a matter of time. It seems like our efforts were successful. We have the greatest army in the world. Something that I think Paradox need to fix is this. Now, in our society, we have multiculturalism and total separation, which means that basically all cultures are almost fully accepted in our country. But the problem with that is like the Yankee culture here in my country is fully accepted. And due to that, I can't assimilate them. The problem is, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how much accepted you are in a society. Eventually, you're gonna be assimilated. And actually, if you think about it, the more accepted you are in a society, the faster you're gonna be assimilated by it. Another example that I always think about it is like here in France. We basically have four different cultures in France, which is French, Breton, Franco-Provençal, and Aquitaine. If you think about it, if we are talking about 1936, I'm pretty sure that the cultural difference between Aquitaine and French is such small that we could consider both them being French. But nowadays, the game works in a way that since the Aquitaine people are in a homeland of them, they can't be assimilated. And this is something that I think it just doesn't make sense, at least in this case of French and Aquitaine. So I think that Paradox needs to do an overall rework over assimilation. Not only due to gameplay, but as long as I understand, this would increase in-game performance because one of the biggest issues of Victoria 3 performance is the amount of population divisions that we have between jobs, cultures, religion. Maybe Paradox can add something like hybrid cultures like in CK3, which is something that I always thought like if a North Italian and a South Italian migrated to America, let's say, it's very likely that they would merge into each other, creating some culture like Italo American, which not only is historically accurate, but it would also increase the performance because instead of having two different cultures in America, we would merge into one. We might not have India in our game, but we may get Japan. So Japan is one of the most important markets in Victoria 3 and one of the hardest, in my opinion, to get. But now we have this a revolution in Japan that have a war goal of annexing all of it, and they accept to become our subject. Technically, this is a very, very easy war because Japan have paper units and different to what happened with Qing, that Russia supported them. Japan probably won't get anyone on their side. Like Great Britain might step in, but the fact is, Great Britain is already at war against both China and Russia in a war that's not very easy. So I think they won't get in our way. Sadly, Great Britain still sided with the Empire of Japan, and I couldn't wait more because if I waited a little bit more, the Japanese radical revolt wouldn't accept to become my protectorate. The problem is, I think the British will still focus on the war with Great Qing, but their navy is so massive that they still can blockade my naval invasion here in Japan. Ooh, we have a front. Okay, this changed everything because now we have a front and we don't need to naval invade them. As I said, I hope that they keep their army here, I hope that losing to Russia and China while we manage to defeat Japan. Now I have this company here of Taurus that I should have already established. This is a Brazilian army manufacturer, and it's very clear why we won these bonuses. But still, we have a very clear advantage over British troops because you can see here they have 64 defense and we have almost 100 offense. And this is probably because I've added the luxurious supplies, which add 10% of offense. Remember that we struggle against China and Russia. Now we are completely liquidating Great Britain. We are in another level. Like there is no army in the world that can beat us right now. And we completed the naval journal entry of Brazil. Now we have more loyalists and of course the progress bar of Magnanimous Monarch. Although it's already very great. Like in the mod, I increase a little bit because in the base game, although I understand it make it much, much harder the fact that you can't pass some laws and other stuff. But I will decrease the amount of points that you can get in the mod because you can basically make 100% of it. So there is no point. Not gonna lie, I was worried because in the beginning, while my troops were moving, they managed to invade a little bit of the Japanese radical revolt. So they have this minus war support here. But we capitulated the Empire of Japan quick enough, and now we just need to make peace with Great Britain. So now that I don't need to worry about migration and population, what I'll be doing is switch the freedom of movement principle in order to get colonial offices and increase the speed of my colonization process here in Africa or Oceania. Just a quick review of the world because sometimes I feel like this type of video lacks it because I always want to see how the world's going and whatever. The war between the British and the Russian plus Qing ended in white peace. No one get anything. And this is the stats of the world right now. We have just unlocked trench infantry, and I already switched off my army to it. And because of that, we are now the number one prestige in the world due to our power projection from army, which is actually the biggest modifier here in this list with 753, while the British, as an example, has only 234, and Prussia just a little bit higher with 281. But I think that's all for today. We are undisputably the world's greatest power. And being honest, I think the only thing that can hold my empire right now is my willingness to do. Because I don't think I want to do that much of great wars to dismantle whole empires, mobilize hundreds and hundreds of troops. But let's see. Probably the next episode will be the last. I hope you like it. Subscribe, like, and comment, and see you next time.